Alright everybody, hello and welcome. As always, I am Sean. This is In The Mixer. Welcome to episode 181. It's the start of a new season, season 21 with the Isle of Man. We continue as reigning, defending Premier League champions. We have other titles that we want to go after for this season. If you didn't watch last week's episodes, the week before episodes, we went through season 20. We're now at a point now where we're consistently challenging for the Premier Division title, but really we want to go out there and try and have a season where we win every trophy that is on offer and available to us. And that continues this week. That continues right up until the release of Football Manager 2021. We're going to keep this series going pretty much up until the release date of the beta, and hopefully we can kind of get a big trophy haul in a singular season. That's really what I want to focus on for the next couple of weeks at least. We have gone through a full off season. We have got a few new faces, a few people leaving as well. We're going to take you guys through all that stuff throughout today's episode. One of my favorite episodes to record. Hopefully you guys will enjoy watching it as well. Let's not waste too much time. We're going to jump straight in. So, as you guys can see, not just is it the first episode of the season, but it's also our first chance at silverware with the Community Shield final against Manchester City. They, of course, finished runners-up behind us, 12 points behind in the end in the Premier Division. Make no mistake, though, head-to-head, they are a very good team. We actually, I don't think, beat them at all last year at any point. They have a very strong squad, a very strong lineup. We'll go through that a little bit further before the match against them today. But we do have 5 competitions this season. Last year we had 6 because we had a UEFA Super Cup as well as the reigning UEFA Champions League champions. We're no longer that. It's now Barcelona, unfortunately, who were the team that knocked us out last season at the quarterfinal stage. I guess you could effectively say we finished runners-up, but that doesn't quite count. So I feel that it's very important that we get good results in the Champions League this season. For the Premier Division, we're expected to challenge for the title. We've won the last 2 in a row. I think we can go 3 on the trot. We're expected to make the semi-finals of the Champions League, which is a tough order. But again, it's a competition we've won before. I think we can win it again. The FA Cup, which we, of course, won last season on penalties against Tottenham. If you checked into our special weekend episode, you will have seen that one. The Carabao Cup is not particularly important, but I still want to try and win it to get as many trophies as possible. And we want to get off to a good start in the Community Shield today. That would be fantastic as well. With any off-season, there's transfers in, there's transfers out. We have had players go in both directions. Not a whole lot. You have noticed, like over the last couple of seasons, we've really reeled in our spending. We've really reeled in the amount of players that we're trying to kind of bring in. There was a big churn of players through the first couple of seasons in the Championship and in the Premier Division as well, it must be said. But lately, we've been getting some good players in. We want to consistently develop them over time, move them from being, wonder kids to world-class talents, and then, keep hold of them as they head into their prime. So really for the last couple of seasons, we have seen a drop in our overall spend. You can see our first few seasons that we were in the Premier Division, we spent ridiculous money. We spent £57 million the last year in the Championship, if I'm remembering correctly, which helped us get up to the Premier Division. Once we got to the Premier Division, I layered a whole bunch of these fees that you can see here over like 4-year periods with, regular milestones for payment, which was great. We were also really focusing on trying to bring in English talent, a lot of which has moved on, but like Neil Peacock was in that group, Gary Lester, Elliot Bloor, David Cambridge, Jamie Warburton. They were really the kind of core English group that we built the squad around. Carlos Andre joined that season. He's gone on to become, a world-class fullback for us as well. But $328 million, that's way too much to be spending for a club that didn't necessarily have the money at the time. We'll talk about the finances a little bit further in the moment. Season 2, £287 million. We brought in Arnaud Henry, who's been probably the signing of the series thus far. Esteban was in that group as well. Connor Medjidou, we probably overpaid for, given that he's just been a backup option. El Mehdi Mokhtar, who we sold for a similar amount of money. Mancini was in that group. Rivera was in that group. That's really like a proper plan for the future transfer window. A lot of these players are either still playing in the Premier Division. Selahattin Berber is at West Ham, I think. Larry Ortiz is at Newcastle at the moment, I think. But Mancini, Henry, Esteban, Medjidou for a little bit, Rivera, they have been the core of the side for the last 4 or 5 years, which has been fantastic to see. And then we did start to slow down a bit as our kind of financial fair play caught up to us a little bit. Our finances, didn't improve. They went backwards for a little while. David Lind came in, £40 million from Manchester City. Again, an English midfielder. We'll go through David Lind a little bit further as we go through the squad. Luciano Fontana, who we made a huge profit on selling. Estefano Osorio, who didn't quite work out at the number 10 position. Isaac Toos, another good English talent. Junior Mbungo, a free transfer. We've had great luck with a few free transfers over the last few years that have worked out very profitably for us. Paul Harrell joined the season after that, £60 million from Tottenham. Hisham Haji was like the big marquee signing, £80 million from Ajax, still at the club. Dickinson was in there, backup right back we had for a bit. Frank Richard was in there as well, the replacement for Neil Peacock when he left that season for £100 million. Man City activating his release clause. couple of seasons ago, £106 million spent, the most of which was on Ismail Abdesamad, who didn't quite develop from the wonder kid to like the elite level player that we wanted him to be, but Lucas Gabriel definitely did. Zuzko Mateo has been an excellent squad player for us. Ruben Martinez has been magnificent. Furkan Yilmaz has been great as a backup right back. Jose Santana is probably the last remaining wonder kid in the squad. Uli Schaefer on a free, absolutely huge signing. Like, this is where we really started to be more financially responsible, and a lot of these players that you can see here, we paid out their release clause. That was how we brought them in. And then it drops off quite a bit. Again, a couple of release clause bargains. Bruno Castro coming in, really being like kind of like a polished right-sided winger to really fill a spot that Neil Peacock, when he left, didn't quite. We never quite found a replacement that worked the way we wanted it to. And then we, of course, made the switch to inverted wingers, which I think helped the overall balance of the squad, and it helped our tactic take us to that next level. But again, like, we just paid his release clause. We didn't do anything crazy in terms of the offers made. Daniel Abelan came in. He's still at the club but out on loan. Edward Kozlov came in for a release clause fee from Zenit St. Petersburg. Again, a player we brought in that's out on loan, continuing his development. Last season, we only brought in one player, Yusuf Bolde, on a free. He's been excellent. He's out on loan this season. We'll go through that a little bit further in a moment. And then before we jump into this season and the two players that were brought in, we're first going to switch back over to the guys that have left. The first one that's left permanently is Isaac Toos. Now, we brought Isaac Toos from Bristol when they first... Oh no, they were in the championship, I guess. So I think maybe it was when they were relegated. I feel like it was when they were relegated, but who knows. We brought him across for £13 million as we were trying to continue to grow and develop the English core of our squad. And he was just like the perfect squad player. Never gave me any dramas in terms of his playing time. Was always content just being a squad player. Really, like you can see here, 4 appearances, 6 appearances, 3 and 2 over 6 or 7 seasons at the club. And he leaves for a profit, £20 million to Sheffield United down in the championship. I think we've done about as well with him as we possibly could. You can see 2-star current ability, 2.5-star potential. Still only 23, has a variety of years left in him at that level. He was fantastic for us in a couple of Carabao Cup runs where we did well in that competition, where our reserve side played and made it all the way through to the final and won that competition on an occasion. But again, I think like as we grow and we develop, we just kind of leave some of these players behind. And then the other portion as well is we don't necessarily need English talent anymore, because so much of our squad is homegrown, having been at the club now for mainly their formative years, teenage years. We brought them in as wonder kids, played them really up until the age of like 23, 24, and they now qualify as homegrown talents, which is fantastic for us and not great for the England national side, but that's fine. We'll talk about them further in a little bit as well. Our loan signings heading out the door. We've got a couple of players who really just aren't going to get the game time that they need to continue their development. Yusuf Balde was one that came to us last season and said that he wanted to leave. He got 7 goals in 2 appearances in league football last season. He actually got a few more than that in cup competitions as well. You can see 8 in 16 appearances in total. A few of those, though, were in cup and continental competitions. Actually had a really good continental record. 3 goals in 3 appearances, 2 of those off the bench. Very impressive stuff for the young man. We signed him on a free transfer from Real Madrid. We've sent him back to Spain to Real Betis. That's Real Hispalis as they're listed here. And if he comes back having had a good season, having hit, like 20 goals for the season, maybe we do integrate him back into our starting lineup. The only reason we've let him go out is because, he wanted first team football, and I don't think we're in a position to offer him that right now based on some of the other business that we've done. Similar scenario, because our front line is so stacked, for Edward Kozlov, who we're going to bring up here in a moment. Russian kind of deep lying forward. A good player, a solid player, not the best finisher in the world. Again, similarly, he had a first season with us where he made 13 appearances, scored 2 goals. Not a bad effort by any stretch. He's no longer a wonder kid. He's now 21 years of age. He's gone out on loan the last couple of seasons. He was at Real Betis, got 10 in 35 last season. He goes to Sporting Lisbon this year. And again, similar thing. If he comes back having scored 20 goals across the full season, played quite a bit, and maybe his finishing has improved, maybe we do integrate him back into the side. I'm not entirely sold on either one just yet. But if he doesn't, it was a relatively low risk fee for us, £6 million. I think we could sell him off for his value, $29.5 million, and get a handy return on that investment. And really all that we've copped, we haven't really copped his wages, to be honest, because he's been out on loan having his wages paid completely by Real Betis and now Sporting Lisbon. So it's really low risk, high reward potentially for us, even if things don't work out for him on this loan spell. Similar scenario for Chris Miller. We brought Chris Miller in from FC Zurich, who have a really underrated academy. If you're looking for young regen players that you want to try and bring in, go and check out FC Zurich and their entire squad. They just seem to every now and then have an absolute gem appear in their scouting setup, or in their youth setup, I should say. See here, Ruben Pereira is wanted by Genoa in Serie A. He could be a decent little prospect. I'm not going to pick him up, but they just seem to sneakily get in a good few players every now and then if you're looking for a club that you might want to keep an eye on. He goes out on loan again. He was out on loan last season at Blackburn in the Championship. Did quite well, 38 appearances, which is what he needs, consistent football. Only 6.81 is an average rating. I would want to see that get up closer to a 7 if I thought he was ready for Premier Division football. This season he actually does go to Bournemouth, who are in the Premier League with us. That will be interesting to see how that plays out. It will be very interesting to see if he gets the same amount of game time. And I also think it'll be very interesting to see if his average rating improves playing at a higher standard. But we'll see how he goes. Again, he's just had bit part roles here, there, and everywhere for us in the last couple of seasons, but nothing that we have to panic about. I thought maybe he would kick on a little bit and become, an England quality midfielder. It hasn't quite worked out that way. Even if he does get sold at the end of the season, that's no big drama for us. And then the last one heading out on loan, Daniel Abelan, one of the 2 German right wing back wonder kids that we brought in a couple of seasons ago. To be fair to him, he hasn't had that many opportunities in the first team. We kept him around the first year, that season where we had a squad of 25, 26 players. Made a couple of appearances off the bench and in cup competitions and wherever else, but really, we don't need a third right back as an option. The 2 that we've got are fantastic. We've got some versatility in centre backs that can also play right back. There's a couple of wingers that can drop back as well. We sent him out on loan to Cagliari in the second half of the Serie A season. He got 14 appearances that season. He got 22 appearances and 2 assists in the league for Borussia Dortmund last season as they made Champions League. And he goes back to Germany again this year with Augsburg. Hopefully, we'll make a few more appearances. Hopefully, his average rating will continue to grow and develop, and he'll start making the most of some of his potential. But again, very low risk. We don't have to worry too much about any of it. We're getting to the point now where we are sort of getting good talent in, good wonder kid talent, able to loan them out and continue their development that way, which is helping us quite a bit. Now, over to the exciting side, the transfers in. We didn't have too much that we had to do, but there were a certain couple of things that I wanted to do. I'll talk through that a little bit when we do the full squad preview. But the first guy that's joined us is Abelkader Gazmi. He was last season a wonder kid. That was when we brought him in. He's now 21 years of age, which is fine. There's no real dramas on that. 2.5 star current ability, 4.5 star potential. He joins from PSG, where he hasn't had that many opportunities really with their main team. Made a couple of appearances a few seasons ago, 2034, 2035, when he would have been about 16, 17. 1 start, 1 off the bench. Not bad by any stretch. He's done well for their PSG 2 side, which I think is their lower division team. He was out on loan at VfB Stuttgart as a 19-year-old, made 8 appearances in the Bundesliga, was out on loan at Real Valladolid last season in Spain. They struggled quite a bit, and I think that's why his average rating is so low. But 35 appearances, that's good for his development. We've brought him across for £80 million, which might look like a lot, but in truth, I think he kind of solves an issue for us, where we haven't had a specialised ball-playing defender as a stopper at any point throughout the season. I'm really enjoying, when you're playing ball-playing defenders, having a stopper and a covering defender. I think that helps quite a bit in terms of the 4-2-4 that we play, having one defender that's willing to step in and be that additional man in midfield and one that's also willing to go to the ball. I think that helps quite a bit. But we've been using Esteban in that role, which he's not bad at, but it's not his preferred. He wants to be playing as a covering defender, kind of dropping off the shoulder. Bringing in Gazmi, I think, is going to allow us to get the best out of Esteban in his preferred role, where he is quite good. He's a 4-star, potentially 5-star current ability player on his day if he's in good form. I'm hoping Gazmi can have a good season, get himself up to 4 stars relatively quickly. And if he does, we've got an elite level defensive partnership in their preferred roles as ball-playing defenders on stopper and cover. I think that's perfect. It's really the only area I thought we could potentially improve our backline. We won the Premier Division the last 2 seasons. We've won the Champions League in the last couple of years as well. There wasn't too much that we needed to do. The only thing that I was really concerned about is that Abdesamad potentially wasn't going to get any better than he currently was. 3-star current ability and potential. I think we brought him in as a wonder kid, hoping that he would get to a 4-star, 5-star elite level, and it just didn't happen. Technically, he hasn't quite caught up with everybody else. He's still fine. There's no real concerns about him, but if we're going to bring someone in, let's bring someone in that can do a little bit more than the ball-playing defender cover role, which we already have covered with Esteban. Let's bring in a stopper, and let's see if that changes our side a little bit. Let's see if that takes us to the next level as far as competing on all fronts is concerned. So we'll see how that goes. It should be interesting to see how that one plays out. And if it doesn't, who really cares? The other thing we get to do is we're also going to attach a face pack, and I'm going to show you guys how I do this. So as you guys can see here, I've got a whole bunch of spare faces that I haven't used as yet, courtesy of Chilled Moose. Links to her stuff down in the description below. I'm a patron of Chilled Moose as well, because I think she does fantastic work, not just within the face packs and everything, but larger work for the Football Manager community. I wouldn't recommend someone if I wasn't willing to support them, and I do support her on Patreon. And basically what happens is I'll just look at what their regular face is like, and I'll kind of try and find something that looks relatively similar to the existing hairstyle they've got or the existing facial structure we've got. He's got a little bit of a complexion. I don't think that we need to go like too dark with it. But having said that, I've also had situations where I applied a face and then when I went and watched the next 3D highlight, they were an entirely different ethnicity. This one doesn't look too bad. Yeah, let's go with that. Why not? And there you have it. Just like that, magic editing. He now has a face of his own, which looks much, much better. Now, the other signing that we've made, which we are going to do a face for in a moment as well, is Max Olsen. He has joined us from relegated Aston Villa. Now, what I do each year is I go and have a look at the relegated sides and have a look at who potentially could come in. He's 20 years of age, still a wonder kid. He has 1 England cap and 1 goal to his name already. And one, I like, bringing in English talent. He's either footed, which I think is phenomenal. I'm not 100% sold on whether he should be our starting advanced forward. I've given him the number 9 shirt. We're going to start the season starting him. He's got great dribbling. He's got great finishing. He's got good technique. His mental attributes need a tiny little bit of work, but got good determination. Just needs a little bit of a boost in terms of composure and off-the-ball movement. Physically fantastic. Great acceleration, agility, and pace. What I'm not 100% sure of, if he can take his level to like a Champions League level. So he has been relegated twice in his young career already, albeit he made 1 appearance for Villa before they got relegated a couple of seasons ago. He did okay in the Championship, 6 goals in 15 appearances, 7.21 average rating across those appearances in the league itself. Last season, really his first chance at first team football at a Premier Division level, 35 appearances and 9 goals. Not bad for a 19-year-old player, don't get me wrong, but 6.85, I'm hesitant to maybe start him from the off. I think we are going to risk it because he is English. He's already got full international caps to his name. Where I'm hesitant is he ready to be a leading striker for an elite level club, a club that's trying to win at the Premier Division, a club that's trying to qualify for the Champions League. Worst case scenario, he's an English player, a homegrown talent that we can keep in and around the squad that is of quite decent ability. You'll note if you watched last week's episode when we were talking about kind of like Pablo Rivera and his season, he had his worst year arguably for the club in his 7th season. 11 goals in 35 appearances, 22 goals in all competitions across 50 appearances. That's not bad. It's not anything to sneeze at. 6.96 as an average rating. Like, do we need to try and bring someone in that's potentially going to go to the level above and beyond what Pablo Rivera is? Like, are we content with how Pablo Rivera is right now and our kind of 3-man striker rotation between Martinez, Schaefer, and Rivera, depending on who's in form? Or do we want to bring someone in that potentially takes us to that elite level that becomes a 5-star current ability player up top? Like, we've got players in other positions, if we sort by ability, that are getting to that level. Bruno Castro's developed great. Arnaud Henry, Ruben Martinez, Carlos Andre, Jose Santana. Like, these are guys that are all hitting that kind of, elite world-class level state. Is Pablo Rivera going to get to that level? Probably not, as we're looking at it at the moment. So do we want to try and bring someone in that has a bit of a higher ceiling that potentially could get to that level, who is also an English talent as well? Like, they're only, if you look at the two of them, I'll just highlight them both here. He's only half a star behind Pablo Rivera, and I know star ratings aren't everything, but at 20 years of age, you'd think he's probably going to hit 4 stars, maybe 4.5, maybe 5 at a stretch if he has a really good year this year. So I think it's a risk that we're happy to take at the moment. We'll see how it goes. I think it's phenomenal that he's already got 1 cap and 1 goal in his England career. England has been very interesting this offseason. This is another thing that I wanted to kind of get into further a little bit. But we now have 3 players in the English national side, and it's not 3 players that I would expect. Paul Harold's in there, which is great. He's our starting inverted winger on the left-hand side. That one makes sense to me. But what I wasn't expecting was that Jamie Warburton would come into that lineup, given that he is like our 3rd choice striker, 3rd choice central defender, I should say. Probably this season 4th choice, with Abdesamad still in the squad. And he's now starting for the English national side on the left-hand side of their central defensive partnership. David Lind, who made probably the fewest appearances of his career for us last season as a squad player and nothing more. He was great in those appearances. 7.38 is the best overall average rating he's had for a season. But I don't know what he did during this period to make the England national team think, okay, this is the guy that we're now going to play at the base of our midfield and we're going to center everything around. He's playing in that starting lineup, which is absolutely crazy to me. Given the quality of some of the players that we've had, or the prospects that we've had, I think it's fascinating that those 2 players have jumped into the England national team somehow. They're not in our starting lineup, so that the fact that they're in the English national team starting lineup is mind-boggling for me. The one guy that is in our starting lineup isn't even in that. So it's it's interesting stuff. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. It'll be interesting to see if Max Olsen can get himself back in that England starting reckoning, and maybe we do have 3 or 4 players from our squad in the England national side set up moving forward. Now, giving him a face as well, who looks similar to that. That's not far off. I think that's pretty close to what we got there. We'll go with that. Why not? Right, just like that, he's got a face as well. A little bit of behind the scenes stuff for you guys in that one as to how we allocate our faces and the rationale behind the players that I put. Randomly, when you see guys like Uli Schaefer, he's a really good example actually. I picked him when his character was bald, and now all of a sudden his character has hair. So just when you see it in 3D highlights, just ignore it. Don't worry about it. Now, switching our view to the overall squad itself, I think we still have a really good starting 11. The starting 11 that we kind of want to try and go with is looking a little bit like this. I like the balance. I think Esteban coming in as the starting ball-playing defender on cover, he can be that leader. This is the first off-season in I think about 3 years that he hasn't actually been caught coming out of a nightclub, so maybe he's growing and developing. He's now, of course, 24 years of age. Maybe he's just grown out of it, which would be fantastic for us. And he's moved to elite status as well, which is very impressive. He moves to his preferred role. Gazmi comes in a preferred role as a stopper with a ceiling to potentially get to the same level. I think that's very exciting for us. Mancini continues in goal. He's been fantastic for us over the last 6-7 seasons. What have we had him? He's going into his 7th seasons now. So the previous 6 seasons, like phenomenal stuff. Like 6.91 is the lowest average rating that he's got. 7.01 the highest. For a goalkeeper, that's basically a 10. Like, it's impossible in this game for goalkeepers to get consistent match ratings. It drives everybody nuts. But he has been fantastic for us. He'll continue in that keeper role. Brazilian fullbacks, Carlos Andre and Lucas Gabriel either side. Both of them the starting fullback partnership for the Brazilian national side as well. It is an incredibly difficult starting lineup to get into for the Brazilian national team. They are both doing tremendously well. And at 21 and I think 24, 25 for Carlos Andre, one of the elder states in the squad now, like they both have, plenty of experience. They know what's expected of them. They know their roles quite well as well, which is fantastic for us. Still not 100% comfortable as wing-backs on attack, but I think at this point they're never going to be comfortable in that role. They're already 4-star and 4.5-star comfort in that role, so it's not completely unknown to them, but we're not looking to replace either of the fullbacks. They've been fantastic for us for the last few seasons. Henri will continue as the DLP in support. He's the main man in midfield, our 5-star player. He'll play alongside Jose Santana, who I thought did well last season, still working his way into being comfortable in this box-to-box role. Potentially, maybe that's the next role that we look to try and bring in. There was a player that we're looking at, but really I just don't have the cash to go after him at the moment, who again is in the English national side. His name is Bradley Taylor. He was previously of Brighton. He's been at FC Cologne for the last couple of seasons. 48.5 million they paid for him 4 years ago. He's been solid, but not super spectacular during that time. I think maybe we bring him back to England and maybe he becomes that box-to-box midfielder. Not super comfortable technically, but he's got good passing, got decent tackling as well. Good mental attributes, very good physical attributes. I think he might be the player that we look at to bring back at 25. They want £63 million for him, and I think they want roughly around 90. At the moment, I'm really just focusing on keeping our wage budget under control, but I could push back some funds to try and bring him across, maybe in a structured deal or something like that. We'll keep an eye on that as the season progresses and goes on. But for the moment, I think we're quite happy to let Jose Santana, at 21 years of age, continue his development. You can see tireless midfielder. That's really what we need in that box-to-box role at the moment. Bruno Castro will continue as the inverted winger on the right. He has been our leading assist maker for the last few seasons. I think he has been excellent over the last few years. He's now a full Spanish international as well, which is always exciting to see. But since he signed, he's been 7.33 and 7.31 in the Premier Division. Contributed 10 assists the first season, 13 last year. If he continues to build and gets close to like 15, 16 this year, he's going to be a phenomenal talent on that right-hand side for us. Standard Liège, another club to keep an eye out for. They do have some fantastic regions come through at various points. Keep an eye on that. They also have like a really weird balance of nationalities that come through their academy. Like they've had Spanish players come through their academy. They've had English players come through their academy. Belgians, of course, but just the most random nationalities just wander their way through the Standard Liège Academy. Over on the left, Paul Harold, full England international, 17 caps now to his name. He only got his first one, I think, just before the start of last season. I think it was a build-up to the 2038 World Cup. And his development was fantastic last season. He was like a 2.5, 3-star current ability player. He's now 4-star and consistently providing us good options on that left-hand side. Comfortable with either foot, which is perfect for the versatility on that side. Still only 22 years of age. His best football's still ahead of him. So it'll be fantastic to see how he continues to develop. And up top to start with, we're going to go with Martinez and Olsen. Martinez's development has been fantastic. We moved him to be like a third choice striker last season, and he still contributed with a similar output to his first year. We of course bought him a few seasons ago, £15 million. Wasn't too much. We paid his release clause. He went out on loan to Rennes and did okay, 33 appearances and 7 goals as a teenager. Came back for the Isle of Man, set the league on fire early on. I think he scored most of his 18 goals in his first kind of like 20 appearances for the club. Did slow down a little bit in the second half of the season, but 26 in all competitions across 40 appearances in your first year in the Premier Division. Very impressive. And last year I thought he was excellent as well. 30 goals in only 19 starts. Did make 24 sub appearances across all comps. The impressive one to look at there is in the league, he made 27 appearances, scored 18 goals, and got 4 assists. Only 9 starts, 18 appearances off the bench is absolutely phenomenal. So we'll reward him. We'll put him back in the starting lineup and see how he gets on. He'll play alongside Max Olsen. Hopefully they develop a relatively quick partnership. That would be fantastic for us. But if they don't, we've got Uli Schaefer, who's more than comfortable in the deep-lying attacking role. Was fantastic for us again last season. Free transfer a few years ago from Bayern Munich. He's been a fantastic squad player in and around the first team and starting lineups for quite a few seasons. 15 goals, his highest output for us last season in what was largely a starting role. 31 starts, 2 sub appearances. Was again fantastic in Europe, was again fantastic in cup competitions as well. So I don't think he's going to have any huge concerns about moving to being a sub role. Pablo Rivera, this one could get interesting. He expects to be a star player in this lineup, so it will be very interesting, I think, to see how he handles potentially being second fiddle for the first time really in his Isle of Man career. Jamie Warburton will be one of the backup central defenders with Abdesamad. I've started Warburton just because he's a full England international. Furkan Yilmaz will be the backup right back. His versatility on the right back and right hand side is very handy to have on the bench. Hisham Haji will be the backup in central midfield along with David Lind. Maybe we give David Lind a bit of a start here and there as well. I know Hisham Haji struggles when other teams are interested in him. You can see there's quite a few there looking to keep an eye on him. Richard and Mateo are the backup wing-backs. Schaefer and Rivera, as we mentioned, the backup strikers. Paul Brady, the backup keeper. Medjidou, the backup left-back. And Abdesamad and Haji, we already spoke about. As far as our preseason results are concerned, we did do that tour of the US, which I think we picked up in the weekend's episode. We beat New York City, New York Cosmos, and New York Red Bulls 9-0. Very impressive performances across the board. The first real off-season we've had where we didn't have most of the squad away in international competition, which was fantastic for us. We beat Real Madrid 5-1 in a very impressive performance. Olsen, Haji, Schaefer, Harold, and Richard getting amongst the goals. Very impressive split across the board. Atletico Madrid we beat 2-0 as well. Always a tough team to try and break down. And in our last game out, we drew 4-4. It did take a 94th minute equaliser from Bruno Castro, but 4-4 with Barcelona, the reigning European champions, and the team that beat us in the quarterfinal stage. Sets us up nicely for this game against Manchester City. We do want to try and get 5 trophies this season. If we can do it while winning the Community Shield, I will be a very, very happy boy. Before I forget, we should jump in and have a look at the season preview for the Premier Division as well. For the first time, we're actually amongst the favourites for the Premier League. We are currently $6 odds, just behind Man City on $5 to try and get a 3rd consecutive title. And we do have, finally, getting some respect in the media Dream 11 as well. Arnaud Henry is playing at centre-back instead of central midfield, which is an interesting one. And Paul Harold playing on the left wing, which is very impressive. City have the most players. They've got 4. Sanchez, the central defender, Brady, the right back, Pereira, the right midfielder, and Vasha leading the line. Cardio is the only player for Manchester United, which is very interesting, I think. Chelsea have a player in there. Liverpool have a player in there. Leeds have a player in there as well. Actually, Liverpool have 2, sorry. This is Liverpool's goalkeeper as well, Kuna Carmo. Sunday Azuka, it looks like a new signing at Leeds for this season. He's immediately gone into the starting 11, or the highest reputation 11, which he's not done bad in Portugal. He's done quite well, to be fair to him, but I think that's interesting that he's immediately gone into the Media Dream 11. We'll see how that changes over the course of the season as well. But we have a Community Shield fixture to turn our attention to. I should probably suit up, but to be honest, I can't be bothered. City are $2.50 favourites against us. If we look at the stat pack, City are consistently the side that we have struggled against the most in terms of our overall scores, our overall ratings. We've beaten them twice in 22 appearances, 22 games against them, which is absolutely ridiculous. They've got 13 wins during that time, 7 draws as well. They demolished us for quite a while. When we first came up into the division, we got a scrappy 2-1 victory to kind of break that duck. Fontana and Leicester, who are no longer with the club, getting the goals in that one. We did beat them Interestingly, 6-0 in the first leg of a Champions League semi-final the season we won the Champions League. We lost 5-2 to them in the return leg, though, away at the Etihad. We lost 4-1 to them and 2-0 in the division last year. Alan Vasher is the name that we have to keep an eye on. He's the guy that consistently scores against us each time we play. You can see he's involved here quite a bit. They did knock us out on penalties in the FA Cup 5th round as well, the season that we won the Champions League. So definitely a side that we want to improve our record against. Definitely, I think, the bogey team that we've got in terms of, the teams that we struggle against in the division. But we're going to go after it. We've got a couple of new faces. We're going to go with our attacking style and hopefully playing at Wembley. It's a bit of a neutral venue, which gives us hopefully an advantage that they perhaps would have had if the game was being played at the Etihad. They're playing a 4-2-3-1 because, of course, every big side in Football Manager 2020 plays a 4-2-3-1. There is no variation. Managed by Patrick Vieira. We've spoken about a variety of their different players. Vasher is phenomenal. They're playing him on right wing for some reason. I don't know why. He's probably the best striker in world football at present. They've moved him out there to play Toby Owens up top, starting England left winger. He has a good record against us as well. And then on the left-hand side, they've switched Pereira over to that side. So that front three is very, very strong. And I think it's probably a very dynamic front three. I wouldn't be surprised if all three players rotate in and out of different positions. They've signed Jorginho from Arsenal, it looks like. We looked at him a couple of seasons ago when he was at Sao Paulo. Eventually, Arsenal paid his release clause, and then they made a tidy little profit, £85 million signing for Manchester City. How much have they spent this off-season? I probably should look at other clubs and what they're spending at the same time. £107 million, 85 million of that on Jorginho, though, so they've really only brought in the one big player. It will be interesting to see how their squad lines up, how they look in this contest. They've still got Gregory Francois, one of the better players that I've looked at defensively. He's a central defender, but they play him at left back every time. Sean Brady was in the media dream 11. Pereira was in it. Vasher was in it. They've got some very good players. Sanchez was in it, but playing as a central defender. They're playing him in midfield at the moment, which I guess makes sense. 28-year-old Colombian. Let's passionately say, let's avenge what happened the last time we played Man City. They did beat us 2-0, I think, late on last season. And really, if we can get off to a good start and get a good performance against them, I think that's going to go a long way to setting a marker for the rest of the season. First highlight, though, starts in possession for the Citizens. Ball forward from Brady, finds Keklik in midfield. Number 10s always do really well for opposition tactics and structures. We've kind of struggled to get number 10s working correctly in a variety of tactics with this Isle of Man team. Brady cuts it back to Owens and Mancini with an excellent save. You can see that flowing football. They've always got options in and around the ball. They're all comfortable in possession. They are a very, very good footballing side. And I should mention, they're probably no doubt smarting from the fact that we beat them by 12 points in the Premier Division last season. Can't imagine that would be going down too well around the Etihad campus. We're through 30 minutes. We're going to use a demand more shout. We haven't seen any highlights really of our own. Throw in on the left-hand side. Carlos Andre to take. Santana beats Vasher. Can he find the cutback? He's got a man right there in Martinez. Plays it out to Harold. Back to Santana again. Pinballs around and Castro pokes it home for his first goal of the season. It says assist by Max Olsen. I don't know if he's laid that off to Castro in the build-up there. We'll check it out here in 3 dimensions. Santana does quite well to ride the first challenge. I thought maybe he could have played it to Martinez a little bit earlier. Martinez goes back outside to Harold. They're at 6s and 7s. And then Olsen, I think, makes a tackle on the defender that was trying to clear it. And that's how it falls to Castro. Look, we'll take the assist. It's an assist on debut for Max Olsen. And a goal for Castro gives us a 1-goal advantage. Only one highlight each so far for both sides. But just as I say that, curse to the commentator, here come Manchester City from the goal kick. Ball out to Brady on the right-hand side. Just stand him up, boys. Don't do anything silly. Sanchez across to Ingram. Castro steps in to try and help out. Good ball to Pereira, though, and thankfully it's a very tame effort beyond... Oh, actually, no, it's a corner kick, so it must have been a good challenge or a good block from Lucas Gabriel to put that one out. Sanchez takes the resulting corner. It's headed away by Gasmi, and then cleared long towards Martinez, who's good out of the air. Brady gets a touch on it, but Martinez will recover. And now Olsen, the new boy, what can he do? Signing from Aston Villa this off-season. 20-year-old English wonder kid. Not the best ball in, but it's going to fall to Carlos Andre. Across now to Henry. Now Castro. He's got a man over on the overlap in Lucas Gabriel. Can he get to the byline? Goes the ball back stick, but it had too much on it. Brady able to flick it away pretty easily. Highlight continues as it clears to Carlos Andre, and then it comes to an end. Corner now from Harold. End-to-end stuff late on in the half, and Martinez was in and about, but Cerrone comes out and smothers the ball pretty well. 2 additional minutes to be added on at the end of the first half. We're through about 30 seconds of that now as Vasher comes forward on the right-hand side. First we've seen from him. Right-hand side ball. Carlos Andre's right there with him. It's crosses poor, but Ingram's going to recover at the base of midfield for City. Francois, back to Ingram. Pereira with the switch out towards Vasher. Good flick on header towards Owens, and he gets there first ahead of Esteban. Thankfully, the drive just beyond the far post. And at half-time, it's been end-to-end stuff. City have probably had more of the highlights, if I'm being honest, but we are a goal to the good. 13 shots, 6 on target, 52% possession, 11 shots, 5 on target, 48% of the ball for City. There's a part of me that wants to drop back to positive and just absorb some pressure, but I think if we invite pressure from City, we're going to be in some trouble. So we're going to assertively say we've got to guard against complacency now. Don't think the job is done, and we're going to stay on attacking. And hopefully the idea is the attack is the best form of defence. We've got Carlos Andre and Arnaud Henry both on yellow cards, which we are going to have to keep an eye on as the game continues. And you know what? We're through the hour mark now, so let's make those subs as quickly as we can. And I trust Carlos Andre because usually he's pretty good about not getting a second yellow card. Famous last words, I know. Sports Interactive, if you're listening, I will be furious. And then what other sub do we want to make? Martinez has been relatively quiet. We might bring on Uli Schaefer just to see how he gets on. And then we're going to assertively say I've got faith in both of you to hopefully make the difference. And we use Old Faithful, a get creative shout after an hour. It usually does the trick. Got about 30 minutes to try and hold on and keep this lead. City immediately have a throw in. Sanchez on the right-hand side. Harold's right there with him. Did get a touch on it, but he manages to find Brady. Switch out there isn't the worst effort, but it's managed its way to Castro, and a ball over the top for Olsen is excellent. Can he get the goal on debut? And it wasn't a bad effort. Beat the keeper, but just clipped the base of the post on its way out at that near side. 15 minutes remaining. We'll give it a couple more minutes here. There's one highlight here for City. Sanchez with the corner. Mancini comes out and claims. If we get this forward quickly, we're 3v2. He's been slow in the release of the ball, though. Long one forward out towards Castro. Still potentially, if he beats the man here, that we do have a numbers advantage. Francois with a good tackle wins it back. Keklik, back to Francois. Forward to Pereira. Got to be wary because they can play both. They can play fantastic football. They can dribble the ball. They can do route one over the top stuff if they needed to. Sadikovic, right wing. Cut back to Sanchez, edge of the area. Brady on the overlap. Someone's got to get to the ball. It pinballs around a couple of times and Pereira slides it home far post. I think it was Owens had the initial shot. Keklik might have had the second opportunity, or it might have even been Lind clearing that into one of the City players. We'll check it out here in 3 dimensions. That good overlap there from Brady did all the damage. Sadikovic, good ball into Owens, and then Lind clears it into Owens. It falls to Pereira, and he's already started trying to strike the ball before it hits him. Nobody in Football Manager ever takes a first touch inside the area. Has anyone else noticed that? It's 10 minutes remaining in the half. Let's hit pause, and let's make one last sub. Let's see if we can't roll the dice and try and get a good result. Olsen's not been bad, but let's bring on Pablo Rivera. Let's see if he can't make himself a hero late on in this one. And then we're also going to use a demand more shout with a few minutes remaining. I'm not sure if this goes to extra time in the Community Shield or if it goes straight to penalties. But 3 minutes of additional time to be added on, and we're through that now. It goes straight to pen. So we've got Rivera, Santana, and Schaefer, who aren't great, 12s and 11s. The last penalty shootout we had in an episode, we beat Tottenham in the FA Cup final. Can we replicate that in the Community Shield to start the season? Pereira to take the first penalty for City. Mancini in goal. It's a good penalty to be fair. Low and hard to the right-hand side of the keeper. Favours the left-sided player. Schaefer's going to have the opportunity here to try and equalise. Takes the first pen for us, and tell you what, the keeper gets the right way, but Cerrone couldn't get enough to it as we equalise 1-1. Gökhan Keklik, the Turkish number 10, or German number 10 I think he might be, misses his penalty, smashes it beyond the bottom left-hand corner. Mancini didn't move, but thankfully it was off target. Rivera's first real involvement that we've seen from the penalty spot, goes hard left to the hand side, right-hand side of the keeper, who did, again, guess the right way, but we take a 2-1 advantage. Georgiou, summer signing from Arsenal. Oh, and tell you what, Mancini wasn't miles away from it there, but a good penalty beyond him to make it 2-2. Santana to take the next one. Right-footed penalty, the first of the takers that we've seen. And again, he goes to the left-hand side of the keeper. And again, Cerrone goes the right way, but can't keep it out. Whelan with the chance here. Central defender / central midfielder. English player, good penalty as well. Low and hard to the left-hand side of the keeper. Everyone's going to that side. If I was the keepers, I would just keep diving to that side as long as possible. Lucas Gabriel for us now, the right back, sends the keeper the wrong way that time, but again to the left-hand side. And we're one penalty away. I tell you what, if Mancini saves this, we've won the FA Cup. Sadikovic, all the pressure on him, and he's got a bit of a knock. How telling is that going to be in terms of this final penalty to be taken? And I actually don't know who our final penalty taker will be. That will also be quite interesting to have a look at. Sadikovic from the spot, and he sends Mancini the wrong way. It's a good penalty to be fair. Keeps the shootout alive. But we've got a chance here. It's going to be Esteban, the Spanish central defender, who I'm assuming is just going to leather the absolute shoot out of this. And if he scores, we've gone perfect in the second consecutive cup final shootout, and we will be the Community Shield champions. And that will be one trophy down for the season where we want to try and win 5. Good penalty, goes to the left-hand side of the keeper, peels off towards the corner flag, the subs come to join him, and it's taken penalties. We still don't beat Man City in regular time, but it's taken penalties, but we are the Community Shield champions this season. In the end, we had 19 shots, 9 on target, 53% possession. Manchester City, 16 shots, 8 on target, 47% of the ball. We are going to passionately say, congratulations, boys. Enjoy these moments. You deserve it. And what a way to start the season with a trophy to start off the year. All right, we've got a bit of late drama here coming out at the end of that game. Arsenal have just made an £80 million offer for Hisham Haji with about 3 days remaining in the transfer window, which I think is very interesting. I've accepted it. That is what we paid for him. I don't know. Is he worth more? Maybe? Is he maybe worth 100 million? We paid 80 million for him, but we don't use him. He's like a third choice central midfield option, and he'd maybe allow us to bring in Bradley Taylor. That could be an interesting one. We'll bring you up to date on that in the next episode, which will come out tomorrow, of course. We might jump forward a little bit. I think what we'll do is we'll potentially come back around this kind of Bournemouth and Leicester period. We'll do the Champions League group stage draw. We'll have a look at how our results have gone over the first 5 games of the season, and then we might play our first Champions League group stage match for the year, because that's always an exciting and interesting time to see how the squad is shaping up early days of the year. You guys have to tune in tomorrow to see exactly how that episode goes. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do quite enjoy these start of the season episodes when like hopes are high and whatever else, and I think it's gone fantastically well for us to have a trophy straight out the gate with that Community Shield win. We do have a Premier League title to defend. We want to get back towards finishing on top of the Champions League group stages and getting through to the late knockout rounds of that competition as well. 5 trophies in a season, that's 1 down. Can we get the other 4 before the series finishes as well? You guys have to tune in to find out. But as always, I just appreciate you watching. That part means most to me. As always, I've been Sean, and I'll see you all again in the mixer.